Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Crystal and today we have Jenny of Jenny Stitches Fabrics. As most of you know, I am part of Jenny's blogging team, so I've gotten to know Jenny quite a bit over the past couple of months. She's a lovely lady. Her shop is based in Barrow-in-Furness near the Lake District, and she sells a little bit of everything, which is really nice. Her prices are also very low, and she also offers a zero printing. Jenny, as I say, she's become a friend over the past couple of months, and if there is anything you need to ask her about her fabrics or about thread matching or fabric recommendations or even pattern recommendations, she is readily available on Instagram. Like, she will reply to your messages, direct messages on Instagram, and that's quite nice, I think, because she does make the effort to make sure you've got the right thread color. The other day I asked to buy some thread to match a bridesmaid outfit that I was altering, and she showed me a picture of her thread shelf, and I chose a color, and then she took the thread out of the thread shelf and she brought it outside into natural daylight, and the color was totally different. So then I had to choose a different color, which I think was a lovely touch, because as most of you will know, different lighting on different colors, you know, on the screen, in real life, in daylight, in indoor light, it's all different. So it was really nice that she gave me the option to make sure that I got the right thread to match. So my bridesmaid dress is lovely and has been altered beautifully. So without further ado, sorry about that babble, I will put you on to the interview with Jenny. Thank you so much for watching. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we're joined by Jenny, who is a busy working mum to two little ones. She's also the owner and manager of Jenny Stitches Fabrics. Hello Jenny, how are you?
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. I'm a little bit tired, but been a busy day in the shop, so I'm ready to go home and have my tea soon.
Oh, that's good. Well, as you know, this is obviously a sewing blog, so my first question to you is, how and when did you start sewing?
Oh, okay. So I started sewing. Well, sewing's always been a part of my life because my mum's always sewn. So it's just always happened in our household. So I would always be messing about with hand sewing and little bits of projects when I was a little girl. But I started seriously sewing when I was around about 21, not long after I got married. And I just decided I wanted to have a go at making my own clothes.
Oh wow, and was it a success from that point onwards, or did you have quite a lot of sort of fails?
Oh, we all have fails, and there's no point. I would never deny that, and I'm always quite honest about the fails that I have. But yeah, it's been up and down. Some things I've tried that have worked and some that haven't. The key thing that spurred me on with wanting to learn to sew was there was a vintage Singer machine in the shop around the corner from my flat, and I just had to have it, and the rest is history from there.
Wow, so your first machine was a vintage machine, are you saying?
It was, and I wouldn't recommend it as a first machine.
They are. I remember them when I was little. My grandmother used to have one, and they are beautiful and lovely, but obviously it's much harder to work than a
Definitely, yeah, and the tension and everything was a nightmare. And yeah, but I remember my mum coming around and she had a go and she said it would sew through bricks, it's that good. But so I decided that I liked it, and then it didn't take long before I decided to treat myself to a proper machine.
Oh, that's nice. And so how did your love of sewing then translate into let's open up a fabric store?
Well, obviously that was quite a long time ago, maybe about 15 years ago now. So I've always sewn casually as a hobby. It's always just since that point been something that I do, particularly if I was going somewhere and I wanted to make something special. But I've always wanted my own business, and I just never knew what that would be. And this just kind of fell into place that the last dressmaking shop that we had in our town actually closed down, and just through retirement. And I was kind of like, where am I going to get my fabrics? And I was on a career break at the time. I was at home with my little girl who was a toddler, and I just joked about it to my husband, and he just said, why not? And it just went from there. So yeah, it's been a crazy journey.
What would have been the other options if it wasn't a fabric? Because you said you always wanted to own your own business. What would it have been? What were the other options?
I really don't know. I just always knew I always knew I wanted to be in business, and I was really inspired by my dad, he's passed away now, but he was always a really good business manager, and he was always very encouraging of me in that respect. And he said to me quite early on, go and qualify to be an accountant. And he said it will open lots of doors and give you lots of experience. So I did, but I knew that accountancy wasn't really a long-term career for me. I still wanted to do it myself. So I've taken all the things that I've learned from that job and tried to put them into this one.
Because I do know, I have watched your vlogs. I do watch your vlogs, and you were a chartered accountant for how many years before you started the business?
I am still a chartered accountant. I still pay my fees.
Yes, you are still a chartered accountant. But in terms of practicing, how many years were you doing that before you switched over?
So I qualified in 2009. And I did a few years in accountancy practice, and then I moved into industry, and I worked for a large defence contractor on aeroplanes. And then when we moved up to Barrow, I worked on submarines. So doing the financial side for those projects, which was really interesting. And then I did a little bit more practice work whilst I was off on my last maternity leave for a local firm.
And then fabric just distracted you, and you thought?
Yeah, basically. Sewing's much more fun than spreadsheets, so I do love a good spreadsheet.
It's great, like you say, your qualification, you know, as a chartered accountant is amazing, but you can use all of what you've learned, what you are learning with your current business at the moment, which is
definitely. Yeah, although like anything, in theory it is so much different than in practice, and there's certain things that I used to be quite hard on clients about and be like, why is the cash always different, and and then I make all those same mistakes myself.
Oh, that's so
Shoes on the other foot now.
I was just going to say, how did you come up with the name Jenny Stitches?
So Jenny Stitches was actually my Instagram and Ravelry handle. I don't know if you've heard of Ravelry for knit.
Yes, they have like free crochet and knitting patterns.
That's it, yeah, like a community. Yeah, so it's been my social media handle for a long time. So yeah, just Jenny Stitches Fabrics just kind of came from there. So
and the purple, or is it a lilac-y colour that's your brand? Is it like a lilac and a pink?
Yeah, yes, there we go. The branding is working. Yeah, my two favorite colors. I've always been a huge purple fan. So
that's nice. And where are you based, Jenny? Where's your retail address?
So my shop is in Barrow-in-Furness, which is in the Furness Peninsula, which is just at the bottom of Cumbria, underneath the Lake District. We're not technically in the Lake District, but we're just next door. And the shop itself is on the town's high street, right up at the top. And yeah, I can see people walking past right now. So it's quite busy up here.
It must be a lovely part of the country if you're right next door to the Lake District.
It is, it's beautiful. And we get such a bad reputation up here. Barrow is a working class town. Obviously, we've got a shipyard, we build world-class nuclear submarines, and we've got a very long tradition of that up here. But for some reason, whenever the press come, they only ever feature negative things about our town. And yeah, we've got some beautiful things to offer. We've got the sea on 3 sides. So we've got numerous beaches, we've got mountains, we've got loads of countryside. It's gorgeous.
That sounds amazing.
It is, yeah. We're very lucky.
Definitely. So in terms of the business, Jenny, do you have any staff? Do you run it yourself? How does it all work?
So at the moment, it's just me, but my mum does help me out from time to time. So she tends to come, and she comes most days and takes the parcels to the post office for me, and she makes me lots of cups of tea. And recently she's gotten on board with packing orders and things like that. So, but yeah, everything else is just me, which is why I'm tired.
So you're a real trooper then, you're doing everything. Now I do see your reels sometimes where you have your mum packing the orders, which I think is lovely, but I don't think we've seen your mum yet. Have you shown your mum in any of your photos at all?
Sometimes she's made it onto stories, but she's quite camera shy, yeah, but I will have to try and get her dragged out a little bit. She won't even sign. She's called Lorraine, but she doesn't sign the cards from Lorraine. She writes from Jenny's mum. So, I give you.
And you call her Mummy Stitches as well sometimes, don't you?
Yes, yeah, that's she set up an Instagram and she said, what should I call myself? And I was like, Mummy Stitches. So.
I must follow her. Does she show her mates on there? Or is it just like a person?
Yeah, she does, and she is an incredible sewist. She's
Wow.
she really puts me to shame. She's so neat and accurate.
Oh, definitely
Yeah,
get to follow her. Or
yeah.
YouTube channel as well.
No, she doesn't have a YouTube. No. Yeah, every time she's like, how do I post this to Instagram? And I'm like, you can work this out. But she's like, you have to tell me what to put.
Yeah, oh, that's so nice. Well, I think social media, Instagram is such a big part of businesses these days anyway, isn't it? I think you need to have a good presence on social media because
Absolutely, yeah.
Not everybody is, what is it called, an actual pedestrian to see your shop physically. They are online customers, aren't they?
Yeah, that's it. And just on its own, it would be very hard to operate a business just off physical retail trade. So yeah, it's the way of it these days, but it's good because that means we can reach more people and spread the love.
And just for the viewers, Jenny's Instagram, it's Jenny Stitches Fabrics on Instagram as well.
That's right, yeah.
Almost got about 8,000 followers, which is amazing.
Thank you.
And her YouTube channel as well as Jenny Stitches Fabrics, and she has almost 1,800 subscribers. So that's really good. And I'm obviously a subscriber and a follower of Instagram. How do you choose your fabric? How do you fabric buy?
So it depends really. I generally tend to sort of take a look at the shelves and what's been selling recently and what I feel is missing. So at the moment, I really need to buy some more jersey. Yeah, and so very much like that, or I'll look at what my suppliers have got in recently and some of their new arrivals and think, oh, I think that'll do really well. And often just listening to customer feedback, what people are coming in and asking for, that helps me work out what it is that I need to buy, what gaps I've got on my shelves.
And with regards to your suppliers, is it sort of like a jersey supplier and a woven supplier, or do they kind of supply a bit of everything?
They mostly supply a bit of everything, but I definitely have certain suppliers that I prefer for certain things because I really like I have one supplier that I mostly use for things like viscose because I love the quality and it's quite often dead stock. But I have another that I get absolutely loads of basics from because they're really like reliable. So yeah, mix and match really. And sometimes it just depends if they've got something nice and new and exciting in, then I'll be grabbing it from them at that time.
And how often do you fabric buy for a shop? Is it like quarterly or is it?
Every couple of weeks, really. Because I don't have a huge space here and I don't have a lot of storage, I tend to buy kind of little and often. And that helps me to kind of keep on top of cash flow and on top of sort of changing trends as well. It means I can keep a bit of something new coming in all the time, which keeps things more interesting for customers as well.
That's actually really, really quite useful. And with regards to your patterns, your sewing patterns, how do you choose which to stock? Like, there's so many out there. Do you just choose sort of the things that you like? I mean, I suppose, and obviously what your customers like as well, but it must be quite difficult to choose stock and what not to stock.
Yeah, I mean, I stock, I'm a Simplicity and New Look stockist. And when you stock their patterns actually in stock, you have to take the whole range. There's no sort of part option. So I have all of those. But in terms of indie patterns, I generally try to pick what I know are good and what I know people will like. So I obviously have things like Tilly and the Buttons because I know that they're very popular and the instructions are great and people are going to find them easy to work with. There are some brands that I won't stock or I don't stock at the moment because I don't think that their instructions are clear enough and that kind of thing. So, and the biggest one at the moment for me is size inclusivity is so important. And the bigger brands are not very good for size inclusivity. So for me as a retailer, that's really difficult for somebody to come in and ask for a style and me not be able to provide them with a pattern because it doesn't go to their size measurements, which is just an awful for me, awful for them. So I stock brands like Cashmerette and Friday Pattern Company in an attempt to try and provide more options for everybody.
Definitely. And with regards to sort of the PDF patterns, how does that work? Do you sort of buy a license for PDFs?
So I don't sell PDF patterns themselves. I just provide a PDF printing service.
Yeah, that's right. And that's quite a new thing, isn't it? That machine that you bought.
Yeah,
Massive printing machine.
it's huge. Yeah. I've had it for just over 12 months now, but yeah, it's really good and it's quite popular and it's a really good conversation point in the shop. People like to come in and admire it, and often customers' husbands like to look at that as well. I think they're quite impressed.
I was just talking about your shop the other day in one of my blogs, and basically I was just commenting on how good your prices are, how competitive your prices are. Like I shop in different shops, but I tend to normally go to Pound Fabrics to see if they've got something because they're normally the cheapest ones. But I just realised that your boiled wool is actually cheaper by £2 than Pound Fabrics. And I thought, wow,
really?
And it's just like beautiful quality. And I just thought, wow, that's really good how you can keep your prices so competitive for an independent small business. I think that's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I've always been a strong believer in, I wanted to offer fabrics that are affordable enough that you can enjoy sewing with them, but the quality still good enough that you can enjoy the finished garment, if you will. There's nothing worse than spending a fortune on fabric and then being too scared to cut into it and then be making something and not quite being happy with it and feeling like you've spent a lot of money for something that you don't then love. And I guess for me, from a business perspective, I'd rather that people are coming back every couple of weeks and making more things than only feeling like they could maybe afford to shop once in a blue moon. So, but yeah, I probably could have my prices higher, but I'm a very values driven person. And if I feel like I just sometimes don't feel like I want to ask too much for something if I don't need to. So
that's very nice, very commendable, very commendable.
I'm probably too nice for this job.
So with you running the shop and everything else, when do you get time to sew? When is your sewing time?
I don't. I'm actually doing a little bit of a series on Instagram and TikTok at the moment about doing 30 minutes of sewing a day. And it seems to be really popular. People keep coming into the shop and mentioning it. But yeah, I've really struggled just with the amount of workload of running the business and all the social media side and the admin and the buying and yeah. And then the rushing off at 4:30 every night to go and get the kids from school. It's squeezing it in. So that seems to be working really well. I've got half a blouse now. So
Starting Ranger's blouse that you're doing, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see that all fully made up. So with regards to your sewing, I know you haven't been doing much sewing recently, but what have you got a favorite make that you just absolutely love still?
It's probably split at any one time between Tilly and the Buttons and Sew Over It. I just love all of their patterns and designs. I was a long-term follower of Sew Over It and Tilly really before I was ever in business, and yeah, I've just always enjoyed their patterns.
Oh, that's nice. I love, I mean, Sew Over It, Lisa Comfort was again one of the first vloggers that I ever watched when I started.
Yes.
And I just went through all of her content on her.
I used to love like Lisa's little fabric hauls that she used to do in a flat and used to show what she was going to make. And yeah, I really loved it back then. That was one of the first things that got me into watching sewing YouTubers, definitely.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know that she's obviously really busy. She's got like 2 companies now and then she's very successful, but it's a shame that she doesn't do those monthly makes videos that she used to do. I used to love those, you know, the monthly plans and monthly makes, but I suppose, you know, she's got bigger fish to fry now. In regards to fabrics, what sort of attracts you, for you personally, what sort of prints are you attracted to?
Personally, I'm a big florals fan. If it's got a rose on it, I'm generally there. Because I've got a rose in my logo as well. But yeah, I really like floral. But to be honest, I like everything, and I think that makes buying quite easy for me because I don't then feel like am I only buying to my own tastes, because I generally like everything. There's not much that I don't like, to be honest. So it's I tend to be quite adventurous in that sense. I don't feel like, oh, I couldn't wear that print or I couldn't wear that style. If I like the fabric, I'll wear with it.
Oh, that's good. So you don't have a print that you wouldn't go for at all?
No, probably just not brown would be. I'm just not into brown.
What about fabric bases, Jenny? What's your favorite fabric base to work with personally?
Probably cotton jersey, just because of how easy and fast it is to work with. It's just, but there again, recently, maybe even cotton lawn, it's just a dream. And yeah, and it's light and flowy and it stays where you want it to when you're working with it. that might be a new favorite.
Your least favorite base to work with?
Probably anything slippery, like a really slippery satin, that kind of, or anything that my overlocker doesn't like. Yeah, and I really don't like cutting chiffon. It just sets my teeth on edge, and I've got no good reason for it. But yeah, and it's just so hard to keep straight. Ooh.
I know you don't have much free time, but do you get to watch vlogs, sewing vlogs? Do you get to read sewing blogs at all?
Sometimes, but not as much as I'd like to these days. If I'm entirely honest, when I get home, I tend to try and switch off from sewing a little bit now because I'm so immersed in it while I'm here. But yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, I always used to watch Lisa's blog, and there was a few others sort of back in the day that I watched with a lot of regularity, but I don't think they're all going now.
Does Tilly do regular vlogs, or she just does sort of small tutorials now and then, doesn't she?
I think so, yeah. I don't think I've seen a YouTube channel from Tilly, but I might be wrong. I don't know. Nearly every brand has got a presence on every platform now, and it's hard to keep up with. It's really hard to keep up with. So. Oh dear.
So with regards to your fabric, do you have a personal stash, or is your shop your personal stash? Like, do you?
My shop has become my personal stash, and I've tried to be quite disciplined and remind myself that it is supposed to be a business, and I tend to only take something off the ball if I know I'm going to sew with it. But that being said, I do have maybe 3 or 4 pieces out the back now, which are all pre-washed, but I don't think that's too bad as it goes.
No, that's very good.
But it's always, if I take it off and stash it, then I can't sell it. So it's always a trade-off. And then I end up feeling guilty if I take too much fabric home. But literally every time I get a delivery, I'm like, oh, I'm having a piece of that. I'm having a piece of that. I have to talk myself down. Don't.
And what's the most expensive piece of fabric do you think you've ever bought for yourself?
Oh, for myself. Oh, I don't know for myself, but I did buy my mum some Tana lawn from Liberty when we went to London once. But for myself, I don't know for myself. No, I'm not. I've never been an expensive fabric buyer. I've always just sort of preferred that kind of mid-range, that sort of mid-range price point, if you will. And yeah, I'm not a splurger in general. I'm a bit of a bargain hunter.
Maybe it's because you're a chartered accountant and you know how to
maybe. Yeah, maybe I'm just, yeah. Maybe, yeah. I guess we've just never been in a position in our adult lives, myself and my husband, where we've had a lot of disposable income. So we've always had to be quite careful. So if I have bought something nice, it's never been really expensive. I guess I'm just a normal person.
So moving on, Jenny, a blog. Why did you decide to start a blog?
So I kind of felt like it's great when I make things and I post them to my social media. People love it. They love seeing fabric made up. People love seeing fabric in the shop window. And I've known for a while that I need to show off my fabric more made up. But as we've discussed already, there's a limit to how much actual sewing that I can do. And even if I could churn out loads and loads of garments, I don't think it's great to only show them on me. So I wanted to get together a team of people that could help show off the fabrics in different ways than I would use them, on different body types, on different ages. And I think that's great. And it's really helpful to me as a customer when I'm looking at things to read about other people's experiences and how they've got on with a pattern or a fabric. And yeah, just from that perspective, really. So, and I just think it's great I'm amazed, but by watching you guys working with the fabric, it just blows my mind. I'm so proud of you. When the photos are coming in for the posts, I'm like, wow, look at that. And it would have taken me all year to sew the things that have been made up so far. So that's why, really.
How many people applied for the posts? Because when you put out the advert for bloggers, did you have quite a lot of interest?
Yes, I did. Yeah. And it was really hard to narrow it down. I felt terrible because I don't like to reject anybody, but yeah, so yeah, there was quite a bit of interest. Yeah.
And just to remind our viewers, I was one of the ones that Jenny kindly chose. Thank you very much, Jenny.
You're very welcome. Very much deserved.
My mate, but that is in the pipeline this week, hopefully. And just, I hope you don't mind just telling our viewers sort of what the blogger package is that you offer, because I think it's a very generous, I mean, you're just too nice, Jenny.
Probably. So all the materials for the project are given free of charge. So the fabric and the pattern, and any notions that might be needed. And then when the project's completed, you receive a £30 gift voucher for use on anything in the shop. So, which I think for the time that goes into creating a handmade garment and the effort that goes into taking lovely photographs and things, I don't think that's the most generous thing going, to be honest. But if you're happy with that, I'm happy. But I really value people's time. So
nice, because from my experience, from the little experience that I do have, most of the blogger sort of packages are sort of the fabric, the notions, and the pattern for free in return for an honest review. You obviously go one step further by offering a £30 voucher after the fact to recognise the time spent making up that garment, which I think is so lovely, and that's just so very generous. And it's just a testament of how nice you are, Jenny. You're too nice.
Oh, thank you. You've been very kind today.
And I was just going to say, I know you are really busy, but you do have other hobbies, don't you, Jenny? When you have got some free time, you do like running. What else do you get involved with?
I like running and I like cycling. I'm quite an active person when I get the chance. The last 3 years since I opened the business haven't had that much time, which is why I had to start sewing a couple of sizes bigger. I also absolutely love my garden. So this time of year, I am in my element. I'm out most evenings and weekends digging away and working in my little rose garden. So
that's nice. And can I just say, Jenny, since I can see your beautiful background there, do you mind just giving us a quick tour of your beautiful fabric store?
Of course, yeah, I will. Would you like me to flip the camera around, or do you want me to stay in? Okay, just bear with me 1 second. It's not very slick. Okay, so if we come through the door here, I think that's a pretty good shot. You can see my large cutting table. That's somebody's order waiting to go out there. And we've got some haberdashery and patterns. You can see the high street behind me there. There's Sports Direct. We've got buttons and lots of fabric. I'll try not to fall over this stool. And we've got all of the threads. And here's my blouse I'm working on. And then this is kind of the till area. We've got more habby, the enormous pattern printer. And again, this is my other large window, which you can see points up the street. And more patterns there. So yeah, that's me.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Jenny, for your time. I know you're really busy, so thank you for,
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
I was wondering if perhaps there was a cheeky discount we could give some of our viewers, if possible, or all of our viewers, if possible.
Yeah, we can do that. If I will set up the code Crystal10 for you. How's that? For 10% off.
That is fabulous. Thank you so much. I will link all the descriptions and everything that you've mentioned below the description box for all our viewers if they wanted to click on any of the links. In the meantime, thank you so much, Jenny, for your time.
No, thank you very much. It's been lovely to chat to you. See you later. Bye.